Here are the headlines for Wednesday evening, September 4, 2024. Amazon admits Alexa's wildly biased treatment of Trump. Harris questions was an error. Amazon's virtual assistant device Alexa was found to give biased answers to questions about presidential contenders Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, with the device praising Harris' qualifications while refusing to endorse Trump or provide responses that would promote his campaign. Amazon attributed the phenomenon to an error that has since been rectified, but senior Trump campaign advisor Jason Miller questioned this explanation, suggesting that the bias was intentional. The incident follows a pattern of alleged big tech election interference, with Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg recently admitting that Facebook suppressed reporting on the Hunter Biden laptop scandal due to pressure from the FBI. The deal is done, in massive political shakeup. Canada's progressive New Democratic Party pulls plug on pact with Trudeau. Jagmeet Singh, leader of the Progressive National Democratic Party (NDP), is ending his party support deal with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's Liberal government in Canada. The agreement, known as a confidence and supply deal, was set to last until June 2025, but Singh says he has had enough of Trudeau's willingness to cave to corporate greed. The NDP plans to challenge Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre in the next election and stop what Singh claims would be his cuts to benefit big corporations and wealthy CEOs. The decision sets the stage for a bigger battle ahead, with Singh determined to protect Canadians from a government that he claims would prioritize corporate interests over people's needs. Biden sits at tiny fake White House desk. Joe Biden delivered a speech from a fake White House set at a tiny desk, sparking ridicule and criticism that he is not actually running the country. The setup was described as looking like a kiddie desk in a daycare center, with some comparing it to a Saturday Night Live set. Biden read from a script, but took no questions from the press before being escorted out of the room, fueling speculation about his ability to lead the nation. Catastrophic jolt, job openings crater to lowest since 2021 as data manipulation fails. The number of job openings in the United States plunged sharply to 7,673,000 in July, the lowest since January 2021, from a prior month unrevised June print of 8,184,000. The Department of Labor reported that last month's surge in government job openings quietly disappeared as predicted, with private sector job openings hitting a fresh 3.5-year low. The number of job openings to unemployed dropped to just 1.07, a plunge from the June print of 1.16, and now officially below pre-COVID levels. While hiring finally staged a modest rebound after last month's collapse, quits also rose modestly from the lowest level since mid-2020. Foreign instructors. Targeted in mass casualty strike on Ukraine military academy Russia. Russia's defense ministry has claimed that its forces targeted foreign instructors at the Poltava Institute of Military Communications in Ukraine, resulting in the deaths of 51 people and over 271 wounded. The institute was allegedly providing training to Ukrainian soldiers under the guidance of foreign instructors from Western countries who were involved in guiding drone operations on Russian soil. Russia has been hit by several cross-border drone strikes in recent weeks, which have impacted oil and gas facilities. The attack on the military academy is seen as an escalation of the conflict, with some speculating that among the casualties may be British, United States, or European trainers who were embedded with the Ukrainian army. California scuttles reparations bills as supporters denounce a political bait and switch. The California legislature has shelved 2 bills aimed at providing reparations for slavery, despite years of campaigning by Democrats, including Governor Gavin Newsom. The bills would have established a fund for reparation payments, but were tabled due to concerns over their cost and feasibility. Instead, the legislature approved proposals allowing for the return of land or compensation to families whose property was unjustly seized by the government, as well as issuing a formal apology for laws and practices that harmed black people. The move has been met with anger from supporters of reparations who argue that it is a bait-and-switch tactic by Democrats. United States Steel CEO warns collapse of Nippon deal would spark plant closings. The chief executive officer of United States Steel, David Burritt, stated that the company would be forced to relocate its headquarters and shut down steel mills if Nippon Steel's $14.9 billion bid falls through. According to Burritt, Japan's Nippon plans to invest $3 billion in the company's older mills, ensuring the plants remain competitive in domestic and global markets, which will also secure the jobs of thousands of steelworkers. This comes after Vice President Kamala Harris publicly opposed the deal, arguing that United States Steel should remain American-owned and operated. Starlink agrees to comply with Brazil's orders to block X. Elon Musk's internet service Starlink will comply with a Brazil Supreme Court order to shut down X in Brazil while pursuing all legal avenues to allow the social media platform to operate. The move marks an apparent reversal after Starlink previously stated it wouldn't agree to block X. The decision comes after Brazilian Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes froze Starlink's assets last week, pressuring the company to cover fines imposed on X in Brazil. Biden says he's not allowed to go out in crowds anymore. Joe Biden, the reported president of the United States of America, stated that he is no longer allowed to go out in crowds due to security concerns, according to the Secret Service. He claimed it's too dangerous, sparking questions about whether society has become so perilous that even the president cannot safely interact with the public. This narrative is surprising, given that ensuring the president's safety is a primary responsibility of the Secret Service. First Dollar General, now Dollar Tree shares plunge as both discount retailers warn of core customer under pressure. Dollar Tree shares plummeted nearly 12% in pre-market trading after the discount retailer reported second quarter earnings that fell short of Wall Street expectation. The company also slashed its full-year outlook, citing mounting financial pressures on middle-income and higher-income customers. Dollar Tree operates thousands of stores nationwide and is concentrated in the eastern half of the United States, making it a proxy for consumer sentiment among mid-low-tier consumers in critical swing states. This comes less than a week after major rival Dollar General reported a financially constrained core customer that sent shares crashing the most on record. China should try to reclaim land from Russia under Chinese territorial integrity, Taiwan president says. Taiwan President Lai Ching-te stated that the Chinese Communist Party's intention to annex Taiwan is not driven by territorial integrity, but rather by a desire for hegemony in the international area. He pointed out that China has not taken back lands occupied by Russia, which were ceded in the Treaty of Agon in 1858. Lai suggested that if China truly cared about territorial integrity, it would ask Russia to return these lands. Instead, he believes China's goal is to change the rules-based international order and achieve dominance in the Western Pacific, with Taiwan being a key location due to its strategic position on the first island chain. A stunning chart ahead of Friday's jobs report. The Department of Labor's JOLTS report revealed a stunning collapse in construction job openings, which plummeted from an all-time high of 456,000 in February to a 4-year low of 248,000 in July, a decline of nearly 50% in just 6 months. However, the number of actual construction jobs has never been higher, with 950,000 residential building construction jobs reported. This disconnect is likely due to lagging metrics in the housing market such as new housing starts and completions, which are expected to lead to a sharp decline in construction jobs. Hard landing panic leads to first yield curve disinversion in 2 years as Nvidia plunge continues. Stocks continued their decline for the second day in a row as concerns of a hard landing persisted following dire economic reports, including a massive 4 sigma miss in job openings. The Standard & Poor's 500 index fell 0.3%, while the yield on 10-year United States Treasury bonds slid to 3.75%, its lowest level this year. Oil prices also dropped 2%, hitting their lowest level since last December. Meanwhile, gold recovered some of its losses from the previous day, trading just shy of an all-time high as investors awaited further stimulus measures from either the United States or China. How Reuters manipulates the oil market in 2 headlines. Reuters reported that OPEC was set to proceed with a planned oil output hike from October, citing 6 anonymous sources, but 4 days later reported that the group is discussing a delay in the planned output increase as oil prices hit their lowest in 9 months. The initial report led to a decline in oil prices, which is seen as beneficial for the deep state forces supporting Kamala Harris ahead of the election. The reversal of the report suggests that Reuters has manipulated the price of oil at will, with its reports sparking volatility in the commodity world. United States Navy sailor detained by Maduro's security services in Venezuela. A United States Navy sailor has been detained by Venezuelan security services after traveling to the country on personal business, despite being told not to go there due to safety concern. The service member did not have authorized leave to visit Venezuela, which has long been off limits for active duty American military members due to sporadic unrest and resulting crackdowns by Maduro's security forces. State Department warning advises Americans against traveling to Venezuela, citing a high risk of wrongful detention of United States nationals. The U.S. government is working closely with the State Department to resolve the situation. Judge rules Illinois public transit firearms carry ban unconstitutional. A federal judge in the United States recently ruled that Illinois' ban on carrying guns in public transportation and facilities is unconstitutional, citing the Supreme Court's 2022 landmark decision. The ruling was made by U.S. District Judge I.N.D. Johnston, who found that the state failed to meet its burden of showing an American tradition of firearm regulation at the time of the founding that would allow Illinois to prohibit individuals with concealed carry permits from carrying concealed handguns for self-defense onto public transportation systems like the Chicago transportation systems like the Chicotrans 3 and The decision applies only to 4 named plaintiffs in the case, but it is a significant development in the ongoing debate over gun laws in the United States. Bank of Canada cuts rates for 3rd consecutive month, says expect further cuts. The Bank of Canada cut its overnight lending rate by 25 basis points for the 3rd consecutive time, citing continued easing in inflationary pressures. Governor Tiff Macklem stated that it is reasonable to expect further cuts as policymakers assess the tension between economic weakness and high costs for shelter and some services. While inflation may bump up later in the year due to base year effects, Macklem warned of a risk that upward forces on inflation could be stronger than expected, requiring the central bank to abandon its easing campaign and hike rates. The bank's decision was widely expected, but it still caused the United States dollar to Canadian dollar exchange rate to drop to session lows after the announcement. The Harris-Walz ticket of CEO VID tyranny. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz will be appearing together on ballots this November, bringing back memories of the authoritarian COVID policies they supported during their time in office. As vice president, Harris oversaw the Biden administration's increasingly tyrannical edicts, including a mandate requiring weekly testing or vaccination for companies with over 100 employees, which was later struck down by the Supreme Court. Harris also actively promoted vaccination drives and masking, despite the questionable efficacy of these measures in combating COVID. Walz, as governor of Minnesota, supported similar policies, including lockdowns and social distancing measures, and even established a COVID hotline where people could report those who weren't following his edict. Despite the failure of these policies to stop COVID, neither Harris nor Walz has apologized or retracted their support for these measures, representing a continuation of the tyrannical COVID regime that Americans are being asked to forget and move on from. Ukraine's foreign minister steps down amid biggest cabinet reboot of war. Ukraine's foreign minister Dmytro Kuleba has resigned amid a major shakeup of President Zelensky's cabinet. The move comes after 6 top officials were forced out the night prior, including several ministers. Some are expected to take up other government positions. This brings the number of Ukrainian officials who have now resigned to at least 7, with more changes or turnover soon to come within Zelensky's cabinet. Kuleba was instrumental in helping to line up record-setting defense aid and deliveries of foreign arms for Kiev, including lobbying Washington last year to receive Patriot missiles. Michigan residents, wary of national politics, hopeful for truth. Michiganders expressed frustration with negative campaigning and partisan bickering in the 2020 presidential election, saying they want candidates to focus on working together and addressing issues that matter to ordinary people. Some residents of Michigan's major cities, which tend to vote Democratic, expressed dissatisfaction with the tone of the campaigns, while others in smaller cities and rural areas, which lean Republican, said they are disappointed by the lack of bipartisanship. A few Michiganders said they would like to see more transparency in government and discussions about issues such as immigration and education. Ugly Beige Book reveals economic activity flat or declining, consumer spending slowing in most districts. The Federal Reserve's latest Beige Book report reveals that United States economic activity grew slightly in 3 districts, but was flat or declining in 9 others. The labor market was disappointing with steady employment levels overall, but isolated reports of firms filling only necessary positions, reducing hours and shifts, or lowering employment levels through attrition. Consumer spending ticked down in most districts and manufacturing activity declined in most areas. Residential construction and real estate activity were reportedly mixed, while commercial construction and real estate activity were also mixed. A few more things to watch. The author is monitoring economic data, including ISM manufacturing, JOLTS, and durable goods, which could impact the Federal Reserve's decision on interest rates in September. Additionally, they are watching Bitcoin and related exchange-traded funds, ETFs, due to concerns about retail froth and potential security risks, as warned by the FBI ICRI regarding North Korea's targeting of the crypto industry. The author notes that Bitcoin's market capitalization has surpassed $1 trillion, and its rise could support consumption globally, but also poses risks if it declines. Yield curve shifts, part 2, bull steepening is bearish for stocks. The yield curve is steepening, indicating slowing economic growth and potential Federal Reserve rate cuts, which could negatively impact stock performance. Historically, bull steepening periods have correlated with positive returns in gold and defensive sectors like staples, but negative returns in growth-oriented sectors and indices. To quantify the effects of a bull steepening on stocks, a study analyzed 5 past instances since 1995, finding that besides gold and gold miners, only staples had positive compounded and average returns during these periods. The differences between value and growth stocks, as well as small and mid-cap indexes, were minimal. Lower beta sectors outperformed higher beta sectors and factors during steepening shifts. ZIX options are simply broken. Nomura questions dealers' positioning versus economic landing path tensions. The market is taking a breather after yesterday's downturn, which was triggered by manufacturing data that fueled concerns about a hard economic landing. Bloomberg macro strategist Simon White notes that short positions in the VIX volatility index appear to have been covered as investors reassess their bets on future market movements. Bearish on United States equities starting on. Goldman Flows guru calls the turn. Goldman Sachs expert Scott Rubner is bearish on United States equities starting on September 16th. His prediction is very specific and has started to be anticipated by market participants as the month of September begins. Sell low, buy high and sell low again. Here's a summary of the given text in a single paragraph with short, concise sentences. A chart shows the performance of the SAM 500 index after VIX shock. Apple, Glow Time, Safe Haven are losing the battle with the 50-day. Apple is showing signs of forming a double top with a lower high, indicating potential resistance around $230. The stock has dropped to its 50-day moving average, while longer-term moving averages remain significantly lower.